things off today, Zachary asks thoughts on Jason Momoa possibly being recast as Lobo in the DCU. Now, in my mind, this is a weird usage of the phrase recast, because normally when you think recast, you recast a character. But because of this odd scenario where we're talking about an actor staying in the same general franchise, DC in the broad sense, he's being recast as an actor to a different character. This is not unheard of. Chris Evans was, of course, played Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, and then was Captain America. But there's many, many examples of actors being multiple roles in different comic book movies. This feels a little bit more on the nose if this actually happens, because Jason Momoa was one of the stars of the DCEU as Aquaman, to the point of, cannot state this enough times, Aquaman, of all the DC movies, Aquaman is the highest grossing DC movie of all time.
Well, that was unexpected.
Jason Momoa is famous for playing the star character in the highest grossing DC movie of all time. Rumors have been circulating for a long time, but have come back up this week that Jason Momoa is going to be recast as Lobo in the DCU in Superman Legacy. The most recent source for this is Jeff Snyder on Hot Mic, kind of his podcast. I don't know if it's his podcast. He does it with John Roca. There's a lot of connections between the two of them. Jeff Snyder is an actual film journalist in Hollywood. He has sources. He's been right about a lot of things. He's broken a lot of stories. And so when Jeff Snyder reports something, it doesn't mean it's true, but he has an actual source that has told him that. Like, he's a legitimate source, or he has legitimate sources, so he's a reputable person to report something like this. He's not random guy on Reddit. He says that there's talks to have Jason Momoa recast as Lobo. And other reports have come out recently that none of the Justice League from the DCEU will continue on in the DCU, which I would be in support of. I want a hard reboot. I don't need Peacemaker. I don't need Amanda Waller. I don't want anyone crossing over. I want a hard reboot. I think you need to do that because the public has voted with their dollars, with their opinion, all that stuff. DCEU didn't work. I'm a big fan of the DCEU, but it didn't work for general audiences. You need a hard reboot to move forward. So what do I make of this idea of him being cast as Lobo? I am highly skeptical of this one because it feels too fan-casty. It feels too obvious. If you've ever seen what Lobo looks like, and you've ever seen what Jason Momoa looks like, you go, Jason Momoa's inherent personality, he's just this bro that does fun stuff, runs around with his shirt off, feels very Lobo. So on the one hand, it's a very obvious casting because he would do a great job. But generally speaking, that's not how casting works, that the most obvious person is the person they go for because they have more information on this. They have an actual characterization, not just the most base understanding of the Lobo character. So I'm very skeptical of it for that reason. And likewise, I don't think it's quite the same thing to cast someone that's already at the top of DC Aquaman, highest grossing movie, and cast him as Lobo, who's like a B- DC character. Like, Lobo's not obscure. If you know DC Comics, you know who Lobo is. If you ask my wife who Lobo is, she has no clue. She can tell you a ton of things about all the A-listers. But general public people, not comic book people, don't really know who Lobo is. So the idea that he would go seems a little bit strange, but also in the terms of, like, the Fantastic Four movies weren't like the top of the world comic book movies. All Ryan Reynolds playing Hannibal King and Blade Trinity, that's not like the top of the genre. And so the idea that you go from a smaller to the bigger thing makes sense. The idea that you go from biggest DC movie of all time to Lobo as a side character in this new Superman's movie, that doesn't ring true to me. It feels like, why would he do that? Why would he want to do that? It feels very suspicious. So I don't think it's true. In a vacuum, I think Jason Momoa would obviously be a really good Lobo. Just his bro personality, his irreverence, it syncs up. That's his strength. But do I think it'll happen, all that stuff? Sounds pretty suspicious to me. Most of these clips are pulled from my Patreon live streams. I do about 6 live streams every single month. For $2 per month, $20 per year, you can get access to all the exclusive videos and live streams. For $5 per month, you get your name on my end card. At the top tier, you get a 30-minute video chat with me each month. The link down below in the description has more information.